What's going on, everybody? It is Friday night, and wait, this isn't something we normally do. This is our very first.
Close to the microphone.
Yeah, this is our very first review live stream show for TV shows because we're cinefanatics, so we do TV shows now. That makes complete sense. Anyways, we're gonna do a live review for WandaVision, and my name's Robert Adams.
I'm Chris Adams. You know us.
The Cinefanatics.
This is us.
Anyways, so we're doing these reviews for movie adjacent shows. So this is going to be the very first one for WandaVision. We will continue to do these throughout the MCU related shows like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, possibly What If when that comes out. And then also the Star Wars shows, potentially the Alien show when that comes out on FX. So yeah, that's what we're doing here. And that's why we're here tonight, because we're here to talk about the first 2 episodes of WandaVision.
Yep.
They were good shows.
That's right. Would you stop talking now? That's right. We're doing these breakdowns, reviews, whatever you want to call them. We're just going to do some spoiler chats and whatnot all over this stuff. Anytime there is a TV show that's kind of related to a movie, if they make a Twilight TV show, we're not doing that. But I'm just saying, like popular pop culture stuff, like the Marvel, like Star Wars. You know, we already said all that. You know how it is. But I'm really excited to kind of get into this because this show blew my mind last night, and so yeah, we stayed up late, and then I had to go to sleep, which was really difficult. So we need to definitely get into this. So I know we had a couple people here, some people leaving because they can't stick around for the spoilers. I get it. We are going to be spoiler heavy in this show, so if you guys haven't seen it yet, pause. I mean, we're live right now, so maybe you click off. But if you're watching this on the replay, pause, watch the show, come back.
Anyways, we got Garth in the chat. Nice intro. Thank you, Garth. And yes, microphone check one. Sibilance. Nice SNL Tom Hanks throwback there. So yeah, anyone, if you're watching, if you have any questions, comments, you can do the Streamlabs thing, streamlabs.com/cinefanatics. Also, hop on our Patreon, patreon.com/cinefanatics. At the $5 tier or higher, tomorrow night, we will be doing the watch along of National Treasure because, you know, it seems appropriate. So that is tomorrow night. Also, real quick, on this channel, 2 days ago or so, we released our very first ranking video. That's us ranking the top 10 streaming services of 2020. Go check that out. Let us know what you think of that, because that was a lot of fun to put together. So I hope everyone enjoys that video. Anyways, let's get into WandaVision. I know.
Real quick before we actually do that, guys, help us keep the lights on and keep these kinds of shows rolling over at streamlabs.com/cinefanatics. You're going to want to drop in any comments, anything you have to say over there. That is the bread and butter. That's what's going to help us actually do some of these other shows coming up and stuff in the Star Wars and the other MCU shows and all of that. Streamlabs.com. Any comments, questions?
The Patreon too?
Yeah. Doing stuff
you
over on
Patreon. The Patreon now?
Yeah.
Anyways, getting into the show, I know there's a couple of things that we want to dive into, like some Easter eggs and our thoughts and feelings on this. Let's start off. Let's break these down episode by episode. So we got episode 1 of this show. And this was pretty. It was kind of weird because we didn't know what to expect from watching the trailers, like what was going to happen, what we were going to be shown. We had a lot of questions just going into this, knowing that. Say like you have Endgame, which pretty much was the end of the current Avengers roster and stuff, and then we had to move on with that. Like, what exactly is in Scarlet Witch's Wanda's headspace, and why is the Vision popping up? Does this really actually take place after Endgame, or is this before Endgame? What's going on here? And none of those questions were seemingly answered. I do know from what we saw, we knew that this was going to be bouncing around and playing with a lot of older sitcom tropes. Say like the first episode was very heavy on nods to the old Dick Van Dyke Show. And I liked that. I loved that nod to that. Just so much as like even at the beginning when they're walking through the door, or Vision's walking through the door, when they come in, Vision purposely phases through the chair instead of like tripping over it or walking around it, kind of like Dick Van Dyke would do with I believe it was an ottoman, that he would either trip over it or walk around it. And like the beginning of every Dick Van Dyke episode, I remember when I was younger watching it going, is he going to trip? Is he going to dodge? Is he going to trip or dodge? It was a blast. And just to see him phase through it was great.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah, what did you think of the beginning of that episode? Like just going into it.
Of episode 1. So here's the thing, if we go back and we say we look at the trailers, and I know I said this out on Twitter and whatnot, I had no idea what was going on with this show, what's happening in the show based on the trailers. Even at the beginning of episode 1, I'm going into this saying, don't know what this show's going to be like, what it's going to be about. I know there's, it's taken from some like classic TV elements and all that, but outside of that, I have no clue what the storyline's going to be about, what direction they're going to go, and what's ultimately going to come from all this. So me going into the first episode, just like at the beginning and everything, I'm just sitting back going, let's just experience the ride. Whatever's going to come is going to come, and that's what it's going to be. And man, right out of the gate, I was just laughing my head off at all like the jokes and everything. The fact that they were able to keep it just like a sitcom was hilarious to me. I love the little moments, like they do kind of like the nods and the callbacks to classic shows, like you were saying, like Dick Van Dyke and all that. A little bit of I Love Lucy and that kind of stuff in there. It was, oh man, it gave me nostalgia, which is funny because I wasn't around when those shows were popular in their heyday. I was obviously around for like reruns and all that, but I wasn't born in the 50s.
You're like, I got nostalgia for Nick at Night.
Yeah. I got nostalgia for Nick at Night when they replayed decades later. But man, what I love about it is like from the very beginning, it set the tone. It set the tone for what you're going to expect in this series, which is a little bit of that nostalgia, but also like something does feel right. And you knew something wasn't going to feel right from watching the trailers, but just from the very beginning, it's like, this isn't quite real, is it?
Something's amiss.
Something's wrong.
Yeah. And leading into that, like what I liked about that first episode was, again, going based off of the trailer, we would assume that there was just going to be like some weird jumping around type of thing. No, this was actually the entire episode. And it was also like the entire next episode also. So that was kind of weird. That the very first 2 episodes were pretty much just straight up black and white sitcom. Like there was no real exposition at all in this.
Yeah.
There was no reason for what was happening. It just was happening and you have to accept it. Now I know like a lot of people have access to they had access to episode 3, which I heard is like a big tonal shift for this series. So that's probably the reason why we were only cut off at 2, which I'll get into the end of episode 2 in a little bit, but a lot of people had the access to episode 3. So that being said, please make sure you subscribe and like this video, because getting this channel bigger is what's going to help us be able to grab or be able to get into that category of channels that are able to see stuff like episode 3 and whatnot early. So it's not all just about like donating to the Patreon or Streamlabs or anything. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, and get the algorithm up for this so we could reach that level and we're not just watching it when it comes out at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
But, or 2 a.m. our time, Central.
Please like and subscribe so that we can go to sleep when we're supposed to sleep and watch content when we're supposed to watch content.
So I like that that's what it gave us. That it really was just flat out like, okay, well, here's this crazy world. You got to accept it, moving on, and we're going to start building a story within this world. But then it was like, I can't remember how far it was into the first episode that I was sitting there like, they're about to start dropping like little things here and there that you need to be paying attention to, like little Easter eggs and things that are like going to give you a hint as to what's really going on here. Especially a lot of it seemed to be with Wanda, that she would have these moments where she's like, I don't know. Like she was just seemingly out of it. Like she wasn't in the same dimension as the rest of the world type seemingly was. So it was stuff like that I was like, okay, time to start like really focusing and paying attention on this.
My first hint of that was when they were talking about the heart on the calendar and not knowing what that heart means, what was it used for. Is it supposed to be something? We should know what this is, you know, and neither Wanda nor Vision, who's a machine, and like he said, he never forgets anything, and even he didn't know what it meant. So that was kind of your first indicator, like, I don't know about this. I don't know. We're gonna get some like, we're gonna start getting some hints and stuff here. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, even I, like at that time I was like, what does that 23 mean? What does 20? There's been 23 movies in the MCU. Is that what it means? Is that some kind of secret code or something? Like, I don't know.
I was wondering if like this show was supposed to originally come out like on August 23rd or something.
Yeah, maybe
what it's like original release date was supposed to be or what have you, but that would have been funny if like it was supposed to come out on that exact day.
Yeah, and I know a lot of things, especially when you're talking about potential Easter eggs in a show, a lot of them are real easy to do with numbers because we see numbers every day. So seeing a number in the background and be like, what does that number mean? That was a lot of like what I was looking for something to pop up. And there were a few of them that we saw here and there, but some of them I did notate, and I'll point out as we go. I would have to say probably the first one that really drew my attention to the fact that something secretive might pop up is in the first episodes. There's the commercial break that it took. It dived into this new toaster that uses Stark Industries repulsor, and like the thing is, like the light on here supposedly the light turned red, but we didn't have a reason why, and that's what I was trying to figure out is like, what does that red light on that toaster mean? So I don't know if anyone like watching, anyone in the chat has any theories on that, but that's what we're doing with the show. If you have thoughts on what we're talking about, like little potential Easter eggs, drop them in the chat so we can highlight them.
We'll guess around at some stuff. It's almost like anything that appeared red kind of highlighted maybe something in Wanda's memory. But I do want to touch on that real quick, is that we found out, you know, if you think about it, both the commercials, both in episode 1 and 2, that kind of played during the commercial break were things that were of Wanda's past, things that she has memories of, with the Iron Man repulsor sound that came from the radio reminding her of Iron Man's tech killing her and Quicksilver's parents. And then the other one, of course, later on in episode 2 being the watch with saying Strucker on it. Baron von Strucker being who was doing the experimentation on the twins in Age of Ultron, and I believe that was it the post credit in Winter Soldier also.
You saw them in the post credits where Strucker was talking to Dr. Liss, and they were talking about it being the Age of Miracles, and you saw them like in their little cells doing stuff.
So many post credits. I was trying to remember which movie that post credit. But yeah, the other thing like I wanted to touch on real quick. I know we're kind of past the beginning, but just the way the first of all, hearing the Marvel Cinematic Universe logo, seeing the logo and hearing it again was just like water in the dry desert of not getting any MCU content this last year at all. And then the fact that they turned it into the it sounded like it was coming out of like an old tube TV, and it sounded like one of those old 50s shows and whatnot. So I love what they did there. But anyway, yeah, that's what I'm touching on, is there's going to be other areas as we get into more of this episode, more actually the second episode, where the color red starts appearing and has there's something to that color being prominent.
That's the thing with this first episode is when going through this and seeing like what were like real Easter eggs, something that like the images I could pop up on screen to really talk about. There weren't that very many in episode 1. Episode 1 just gave you a couple of light nods to this, that, and it. There really wasn't anything major, I would say, until the later end of the episode. One of the things I want to talk about was that when the wine is, when the dinner's being set, the wine is being poured, there's definitely that M on the logo, and I can't remember I believe this is French. Anyone in the chat who knows French, feel free to correct me, but I believe the Maison du Mépris. It's something about like the house of the Lord or something like that, the house of grandeur. It's house of something, but I also like that you have this gigantic M on the neck of the wine bottle. Clearly a nod to the house of M. So you had little Easter eggs like that I thought were fantastic. But that was, I would say, looking through my images here, that really was probably the main Easter egg that we had going into. That was one of the main ones from episode 1. Of course, you got episode 1 playing in with the ideas of that this is a sitcom, and then you got towards the very end that everything seemingly looks like it's going to work out for them, and then right before or as it's going into the credits, we notice that the camera pulls back and we finally get to see some color in this episode, but we're seeing what looks like a person watching them on the screen. And you can see like on the notepad below the screen and the screen to the left of that center screen, you have the Sword logo, which we've already been introduced to Sword in the MCU as it being basically that shield agency, but for outer space. And this is where I think it really sets like where we're at in this, that it does definitely take place after Endgame, because Sword is what seemingly looks like it's being set up in, what was it, Far From Home, when we see Nick Fury in outer space working with the Skrulls, setting up some kind of outer space.
Yeah.
Base. Space base.
Nice. That's the thing that we're seeing here is that Sword 1, I think, is going to set up a lot of stuff in the MCU itself. This show also setting up some of the stuff that they've even mentioned it, setting up some of the stuff that's going to be in the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which we'll touch on again a little bit more of that stuff, I think, going into episode 2. But for this one, Sword also looks like it might have a prominent role within the Secret Invasion storyline, obviously, because that's where the Skrulls are at, up in that space station, and what it's going to do within that Secret Invasion storyline. And then as Garth points out in the comics, that Sword is also going to be in Captain Marvel too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that just makes sense, because you still got Carol Danvers. You're going to have Monica Rambeau again. We're going to talk about her in a little bit as well. And then you have just all the inner workings of what's going on there as the MCU is setting up their what are we doing for space level threats within our world, because I mean, after the events of the first Avengers, you've got to have that. So what is Sword's involvement is what I'm more interested in. Like, why is Sword actually involved with Wanda and what's going on here? That's what kind of interests me.
Yeah. So the other thing, as we close out talking about episode 1, every time I say this, though, I feel like we're talking about Star Wars. Episode 1, episode 2. Some people have episode 3, those lucky dogs of them. The other thing I wanted to close out on about this was, again, this was our first introduction of this whole new Marvel Cinematic Universe on essentially a long form television arc. I mean, I know we've had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that seemingly was playing around in the MCU. You had the Netflix shows that were also kind of dabbling around a bit in the MCU, and they might again, so who knows. But this was the first time it was really fully controlled by Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios. And I like the fact that we got essentially thanks, Lola. She's sitting there playing with my feet while I'm talking. I was like, what the heck? That we got characters like Wanda, Scarlet Witch, and Vision in this weird reality thing. And I think given these are characters that they're already used to playing, they already know, like, say, Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen, when they show up on a set for a Marvel production, they're like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm getting back into the mind frame of Wanda. I'm getting back into Vision. I know what I'm doing. Then they come on set and they're like, oh yeah, no, you're not doing that this time. Like, Vision, you need to be channeling Rob Petrie from Dick Van Dyke Show. Wanda, you need to be channeling I Love Lucy or Mary Tyler Moore or something like that. Like, you need to be grasping these characters because that's where I want to take you.
Yeah.
It was amazing to see them shift into those roles while they still were seemingly holding on to their characters that they're already used to playing.
Yeah, 100%.
So I thought that was fantastic for this.
That's one of the things I wanted to highlight too, is like, we look at them. First of all, the two of them have fantastic chemistry together. They work and rightly they should. They work together so well. And I think the benefit of that is they're doing a TV show after having worked together time and again on big MCU movies. That now it's just like old hat. We're coming in here. We know each other. We know how each other acts. We know what to do. We can work with each other so well. So one of the things though is that they both look like they were having a blast, especially Paul Bettany. I highlight him because Vision is a very stoic, straight-laced character, and for him to like come in here and be able to have moments of being a complete goofball, it's not necessarily something that you see within the character of Vision typically ever, but it's hilarious because the two of them just look like they're having so much fun in these roles. I don't know. The other thing I wanted to know also, and I know we'll probably again talk a little bit more about her, a little bit later, but Catherine Hahn coming in as what's her name? Agnes. Yeah.
Agnes.
Coming in as Agnes. Yeah. I had to remember which one we think and then which one it actually was, because now I'm kind of mixed up on the two. Yeah, her coming in as Agnes, she was a complete delight. Her character was just, Catherine Hahn knows exactly how to hit that note, playing that over the top sitcom neighbor, toodaloo, hello, I'm here to help, all that kind of stuff. And she was pitch perfect in that role.
Every time I see her, I think back to Anchorman when she's telling Veronica that Ron Burgundy will read anything that's put in front of him, and by anything I mean anything. Like just she's good at comedic timing, and that works so well with this character. But since you brought her up, let's go ahead and jump into real quick a little what we think is going to happen. So of course, Agatha, and this was actually kind of rumored. We were suspecting this beforehand, and I think within these first couple episodes, we definitely got a little bit more confirmation on this. And like Garth in the chat, he's also mentioning, I hope that Agnes is really Agatha Harkness. I got jokes about being related to her as Garth Harkness McMurray. This is what I suspect too, especially like, first of all, you've got things like her name is Agnes, Agatha Harkness. Cut out some of the middle and squish that together, Agnes. So there's a big strong one, and I'm surprised I didn't grab an image of this, but throughout the first two episodes, you do see Agnes has a little stone on. Like, she's wearing a little stone, and as you can see here, like this image of Agatha Harkness on the right, she does have like that, basically that same kind of stone pin that's on her collar there. It very seemingly looks like what Agnes is wearing in the stream. So I definitely think that she's playing Agatha Harkness, and we're going to see more of her once we're outside of this sitcom realm, and that she's prepping Wanda for more things to come. We'll be touching upon these more things to come as we get further into the second episode, because there's definitely there. But
I'm really curious what this looks like as far as like there being a transition out of sitcom, because as Garth pointed out in the chat earlier, that each episode looks like it's taking up a different decade of TV shows. You know, you had that Dick Van Dyke, into I Love Lucy era. You had, the next episode's going to be touching on like the Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie type shows. So it's very interesting. And I know based on trailers, we saw like there's like a Brady Bunch style, all that kind of stuff. We might get like a modern family, a modern sitcom. So that might happen too. I don't know.
I'm actually eager to see, like, now that seemingly it's going to color, if like the next episode they kind of like dip into the 70s, which from the trailer it looks like they're definitely going to be spending some time in the 70s. So that would lead me to believe it's the next episode. And that they bring back Deborah Jo Rupp. She was the wife of Vision's boss, Mr. Hart. She was Mrs. Hart in that first episode. I like this because this essentially means she's going to come back, and I'm willing to bet she's going to end up playing Kitty Froman from Foreman, not Froman. Froman's the Sausage King of Capital. Abe Froman, yeah. She's yeah.
Can you stop for a moment, take a breath, get your words aligned?
Abe Froman is the Sausage King of Chicago.
There you go.
There we go. Anyways, I think she's going to come back and play basically Kitty Foreman from that 70s show in this next one, which that would be funny. Before we actually dive into that, though, a couple of things I wanted to point out. We got Vernon dropped us a super chat, or not super chat, a Streamlabs. Thank you, Vernon, for dropping that. He didn't have anything to say. He just wanted to support us. So thank you, Vernon. Big thumbs up.
He popped in earlier and said he couldn't hang out tonight. Just wanted to stop in and say hi. So he said hi in a really great way.
Yeah. We also got popping up in the chat, Mr. Ben Bateman from the Action Industries channel, also very popular with the movie Trivia Schmodown, saying, "Salute, boys! Thank you, sir. Thank you for everything that, like, every time we've talked to you. Thank you for all your help and support that you've given us. So thank you for being here."
Yeah, guys, go check out Action Industries. Everything they're doing over there, they're doing some really, really great stuff on that channel. Some really cool stuff.
And Ben Bateman's also running the Nerds in Suits YouTube channel, so go check that one out as well. I want to see if there was a couple of other things.
Buck, Brandon Buckingham's in here. Hey, fellas, what's up, Buck? How you doing? Thanks for stopping by.
Let's see if there was anything else that popped up here. Yeah. How does Chris have worse internet in the same apartment? And yes, yeah, technically you're further from the router. I like to think it's because I work for the internet service provider that we have, and I know who to contact to complain about. So that's why.
I think it's because I'm further from the router.
Yeah. If we have internet issues, he just complains to me.
Right.
Hey, Robert.
By the way, I'm having internet issues. I need to talk to you after this.
Okay.
Real quick, I want to highlight Garth. I also like that Vision being the Tin Man, getting his heart, the stone from his boss, Mr. Hart. So that was really cool. That's a nice little insight. I didn't think about that, actually, that he's the Tin Man getting a heart.
Yeah.
Did you have one thing like that? That's where that episode like really started getting kind of weird, is when he started choking on his food. His boss started choking on food at the dinner. That's when we started getting a little like, okay, this is weird. What's happening?
You know, honestly, so it's him choking, and it cuts back to Deborah Jo Rupp sitting there like, stop it, which that kind of reminded me, like, that sequence reminded me of Get Out, for some weird reason, just that awkward situation. And then for some weird reason, just because it took like a hard right into weird, it kind of reminded me of that don't hug me, I'm scared type of situation. It really was that kind of a weird, messed up situation. If you're not familiar, look up Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared on YouTube. It's a weird video. It's cool, but it's just a weird mind freak.
It's a weird video series, and everybody needs to realize that green is not a creative color.
No. That was strange. But yeah, that was a weird. And my takeaway on that is that Vision basically used his powers to phase his hand through to remove the food that was dislodged in his throat.
Yeah,
but at no point after that happened did we have any kind of a reaction from Mr. or Miss Hart as to what had just transpired. So do they realize that Vision had this power, or this is leading me back into this thought, like this entire world that we're in is completely fabricated and it really doesn't matter. Like these characters are going to do as outlined by whoever's in charge, whoever's in power type of thing. Which is funny given that you see that Wanda and Vision are secretive about their powers, even so much as Vision turning into his human form before he steps out of the house. So kind of interesting to see where that goes. Let's dive into episode 2. Unless did you have more notes or things that you point out from episode 1?
I mean, kind of the last thing I'm thinking is that, you talk about Vision changes his appearance when he's stepping out into the world, based on the idea that they were kind of confused about what that date meant on the calendar and going, well, we don't have a wedding anniversary. We don't even have wedding rings. We don't have any of this. What I'm wondering is if this first episode is actually the first time that Wanda is within this reality. And within the reality, obviously, she's going to have the thoughts of, I've just always lived here. I have memories of my past here, what have you. But in reality, probably all like planted or all generated within her mind based on however this whole reality is set up. And so for some reason, like some things might have just gotten missed at some point. Like, how did they meet in this reality? How are they a couple? What is their story? What's your story? What's your story? That kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if our look into this world is actually her real first day within this reality. Yeah, kind of interesting thought. But let's move on to episode 2.
Episode 2. So we begin this episode with moving into again seemingly a whole new decade. Kind of the things I wanted to point out on this, which I thought was weird. So the beginning of this episode, the intro begins with a cartoon, which is very, very similar to, say, like Bewitched or I Dream a Genie. So showing us where this particular episode is going to be centered. Well, real quick, before that, they actually did have this bit with the two of them in the separate beds, which is very Dick Van Dyke, I Love Lucy. And I love the fact that they put the beds together because Vision was scared. I love that. That was a great bit. So moving into the fact that the intro on this was essentially a cartoon, there was one thing that really caught my eye, and it's in this intro where the animated Wanda's at the grocery store, and I went ahead and grabbed the freeze frame of this so you could see. In the back, these posters that they have, you see like off to the side, you have Annie A's, which is definitely a nod to Agatha Harkness. Again, I moved back to this one. Notice Agatha Harkness always has a cat with her. So my suspicion is that this is Auntie Agatha's cat litter that she's repping here. The other one is the poster next to that is the Bova milk. For those familiar with the comic books, Bova was the midwife on Wondagore, which is essentially a cow-looking being that kind of help, as she's saying in this clip, brought you into this world, brought Pietro and Wanda Maximoff into the world. Again, given that their father is supposed to be Magneto, but yeah, that's a nod to Bova. And then you also happen to, if you notice, this other woman that's standing here, especially if you notice the earrings that she's wearing, this is a clear representation of Monica Rambeau, who is going to play a bit in this particular episode.
Yeah.
So just that one shot alone, there were so many Easter eggs, and this is at the point where I'm starting to realize, like, if you're watching this show, you need to be paying attention. You need to be recognizing what's going on, because there's so many things they're throwing at you at any given time, and who knows what could be happening here.
Yeah. That's a huge thing. Like, that's also little things from the first episode, and then as this episode kind of carried on, I realized they're going to be throwing a ton of Easter eggs all over the place. Like
my cat's over here looking at me like you are just way too nerding out on this.
Yeah. Hey, I'm with it. I'm for it. That's what you want in an MCU show, is to be able to nerd out on it. They have more opportunities to just drop so many Easter eggs just randomly within different frames and whatnot. Like even in the intro like that.
Yeah, calling out Garth here. And that's what I was wondering, because you saw the word wonder in that. Going back to that real quick. So I saw the word wonder, and I didn't know what that word was underneath it. So that's why I was wondering, is if the word wonder was supposed to be a nod to Wonder Man, who in the comics, yes, his mind was the pattern to create Vision. So
also being a part of the West Coast Avengers along with Wanda and whatnot. So
yeah,
I think, yeah.
The other thing I like about this, and this kind of reminded me of it, is going back to the fact that the show starts off in black and white. The last time that we saw Vision essentially in the MCU was after Thanos took was it the life stone? Not life stone. That doesn't sound right.
Mind stone.
The Mind Stone out of the life stone.
They took the life stone.
It's like the redheaded stepchild of the Infinity Stones. It's the Life Stone. So he took the Mind Stone out of Vision, and Vision kind of seemingly went almost like a very grayish black and white, which I know a lot of people were saying that was a nod to Vision in the comics, where he was like black and white for a while. I kind of feel like that may have been kind of what this was dabbling about as well, with the black and white, or it just could be coincidence. Who knows? Apparently this whole world's like an Alanis Morissette song, and it's all very ironic, which is actually a coincidence. So whatever. What's the stone that's in Vision's head? That would be the Life Stone. Wait, dang it. I'm wrong.
That's the Nourishment Stone. It's the Eternal Stone.
That's funny. So moving on, like, it's funny, just that one shot of the animated intro had so many Easter eggs to play off of. I love that. So as we move on, this episode was moving into like, I guess, the 60s, and again playing off of Bewitched and I Dream a Genie. One of those, I believe it was Bewitched, actually did have an episode where the couple were performing in a magic show, kind of seemingly using Samantha's witching powers. Mm-hmm. So this one had a nice thing that began with that was what was going to happen. But the other nice Easter egg on that, if you notice, was that the box that they used to try to make Wanda disappear, that's that Life Stone up there on that door. That's the Life Stone, or better known as the Mind Stone. That's the stone up there on the door for that. So I thought that was a nice little Easter egg as well.
Keep mentioning anything else you want. I'm trying to grab an image that we didn't grab.
Oh, okay.
Beforehand.
Okay. And then of course, as I mentioned earlier, this episode really was our first introduction to Monica Rambeau, or at least the older Monica Rambeau. The last time we saw her was in Captain Marvel as a little girl. She was Maria Lambeau's daughter. So this is Monica Lambeau. Monica. Can't talk, y'all. So Monica Lambeau, and if you know her from the comics, she was also at one point, she was an iteration of Captain Marvel, but she was also a member and agent of SWORD. So we're again seeing how SWORD may be affecting this world that we're in with WandaVision. So I like the fact that she showed up. And what's great is, like, I didn't realize that was her to begin with. I had to read in a little bit and like, oh, okay. But then going back and looking at it, like when, especially in that scene that image is from, she was sitting there trying to introduce herself to Wanda, and she's like, my name is Geraldine. She didn't know who she was either in this world, much like Wanda has been doing the entire time.
Yeah, Wanda and Vision not knowing what their wedding date was and all that, what their story was. It's the same kind of situation. We have another character who's not quite sure what and how, and I don't know. And I know that we're gonna see that again later, because we saw later on in the trailer when it's everything's in color and everything, and she asks her, who are you? How did you get here? I don't know. She says, I don't know. So we have another character, just like the two of them, that doesn't know how they are there. So it leads me to believe that we're pinpointing our characters who don't actually belong in this reality, which, take that for what it means for Vision, because if this whole show takes place after Endgame, dude's supposed to be dead. He's not supposed to be alive anymore. So if he doesn't know what's going on in the world, and we're kind of taking that as a hint that these characters don't belong in this world, does that mean that there is still a Vision that is alive and exists outside of this reality? I don't know. There's just so many things to think about here. I did want to touch on that magic show though.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I see what the image that you grabbed was. Yeah.
Yeah. I did want to touch on the magic show here. So one of the first things, this is kind of how my mind is going to be working for a lot of these like Marvel shows and everything, because I know there's going to be Easter eggs, stuff from comic books that I am not particularly familiar with, that just exists deep within the recesses of the comics. I want to touch back on that magic show, because when Vision was practicing the magic act with Wanda, he called himself Illusion and her Glamour. Immediate pause of the show, I was like, okay, hold on. If I know Marvel, if I know anything, Illusion and Glamour have to be the actual names of characters from Marvel Comics, perhaps a possible magic act within the comic book realm. Guess what? It is. Ilya Zarkov and Gunnar Zarkov, known as Illusion and Glamour. They are a married couple that does magic acts, and they actually have magical superpowers within the comic books. So, again, these Easter eggs are going to be everywhere. You have to keep your eye out for them. These are like characters that are like so far like deep within Marvel comic lore and all that I was like, okay, there's probably no way that these characters will ever actually be in a movie or a TV show in and of themselves. So it's a nice nod and a hint for people who like really love the comic books, really dived in and just know everything about them. We're throwing you another like little treat for you. I thought that was kind of really fun.
Which leads me to believe that eventually at some point in the MCU, I'm going to get MODOK. And I'm really hoping to see MODOK in there. If y'all don't know who MODOK is, y'all need to get your Google working, because that's one that I don't know if we'll ever actually fully see, but I'm hoping we do.
I mean, they introduced AIM, so there's much more to do with AIM still.
So a couple other things with this second episode. I know. So we also got introduced to another neighbor, Dottie, who is basically a gigantic control freak. Like, she's worse than I am, apparently. And at one point, this like little radio that they were listening to was taking over, and the radio was repeating what sounded like, was it like, "Who's controlling you, Wanda?"
Wanda. Who's doing this to you, Wanda?
"Who's doing this to you, Wanda?" On top of that, it's playing the Beach Boys' "Help Me, Rhonda," which I thought was funny because it sounded like "Help Me, Wanda." So, but it was playing this over and over again, and then it got on Dottie's nerves so much that she shattered this glass that she had in her hand, and seemingly her hand is now bleeding, but for some reason, this was one of the few shots in the episode that was actually colored. And I'm wondering, like, why? What was the significance of, for some reason, her blood had to be red. Like, they had to show that off. My theory on that I will go with is seemingly tied to, I'm going to bring back the image of Strucker's watch from the commercial in this particular episode. If you notice the time on there, it looks like it's pointed pretty much exactly at 2:41.
Which there's two thoughts here. There's the one you're about to get into, and then there's the other thought I had, which is they just needed the hands of the watch to be out of the way so you can see Strucker and Hydra, which could be, that could very well be, but I like the theory that you're going to have here because that might tie into something bigger.
Yeah. So as I had mentioned before, when looking for Easter eggs, the number one thing to keep your eye open for is numbers. And what better place to find numbers than the face of a watch? So this was looking at 241. And since this all seemingly looks like it's coming from Avengers, I looked up, we looked up Avengers 241. I come to find out this particular episode, one has Monica Rambeau in it, but is also dealing with not Agatha Harkness, but Morgan Le Fay. Morgan Le Fay is I'm going to shorten it, an evil witch in the Marvel cinematic, or in the Marvel universe, and I believe that this may be essentially that Dottie may be the version of Morgan Le Fay that we're seeing in here. I mean, we already have this Geraldine who is actually Monica Rambeau. It would make complete sense if another character that we're seeing in this fake world being a real person outside of this. The other thing was that Avengers 241 also ties into Morgan Le Fay and Doctor Strange on the astral plane. I know we're getting like super nerdy with this, but just bear with me. The idea behind that is, like we've heard before, is that this show is going to be feeding into the next Doctor Strange movie. So that 241 showing up on that watch, I think that was a nice focal point for it to be a tie-in for like the magic, for Morgan Le Fay, for Doctor Strange, for Monica Rambeau. All of that seems to be pointing at this particular comic. And I believe that what that means is we're going to see Morgan Le Fay is going to be she's going to have some kind of hand in this moving on in the forward. And I would not be surprised to see that that Dottie is actually Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
I didn't know. Yeah, you didn't capture the image of that comic book cover of Avengers 41, but it shows Morgan Le Fay taking the characters, and it looks like she's pushing them or putting them. I'm not obviously not being familiar with the story. Based on what it looks like, they're going into a picture or a screen of some sort. It could be that Doctor Strange is just housing everybody within the astral plane, and it's just kind of like a safe space, or that she's putting everybody there. Whatever. It reminded me of like being inside of a TV. That might not be here or there, but I think it just kind of it's just kind of a fun little nod or something there. But yeah, astral plane stuff, that might be what we're working with within this show. There's so many different theories as to what could be going on. It could be Wanda is creating this reality to hide from the pain of having lost her brother and her love. And so she's hiding herself within that world. Admittedly, like we talk about this episode, the whole episode turns to color at some point. And what that reminded me of is when you touch on Vision going black and white when the life stone was removed from his head, the mind stone was removed from his head. The last time that Wanda saw Vision he was black and white.
Yeah.
And then of course she got dusted away, but regardless, now she's only like picturing or only seeing Vision in black and white. So at the end of episode 2, when everything goes to color, it's just kind of a neat little moment for me as she's now seeing the life back in Vision again. And I don't know if that pertains to anything, if that's really anything at all, because the other explanation here is that, Sword is watching. Maybe Sword's trying to reach out, connect with her, and try to pull her back out of this reality of some sort. Maybe it is a combination of like Agatha Harkness or Morgan Le Fay. Someone is doing something to her or for her, protecting her or keeping her locked in this space so she can't hurt anybody because she's too powerful. There's just so many different thoughts that we can have off these 2 episodes already. And then, how does Monica Rambeau play into this? So many different thoughts. Trying to like catch up with my notes as well, because I definitely took notes while watching this, and you kind of almost have to if you're going to talk about it later.
Yeah. The other one I want to point out, we kind of jumped over it, but I want to go back to it, is one of the other like hints of color in this episode was the helicopter that Wanda saw in the bushes. A couple of things I want to point out on this helicopter. One, once again, at the nose of the helicopter, we see the sword logo again. The other thing is, if you note the colors of the helicopter, it's very Tony Stark, Iron Man colors, specifically like that red and gold. Now I can't tell exactly what the numbers on the back are, like 3003 or so. I can't tell, but that number on the side, that 57, easily is a nod to Avengers number 57, which was the first appearance of Vision. Some of these I know that like they throw numbers and they throw stuff out there, and you could probably like have like some kind of like a weird conspiracy theory vibe to it. That one's obvious what they were doing. Like, there's no question whatsoever. The only reason to stick that particular number on that helicopter was because of the first appearance of Vision. So a nice little nod on that as well. And then the last one that I think was a major Easter egg on this was towards the end of the episode. This is where we really got the idea that Wanda's in control of this universe, wherever reality that they're in, that she's able to stop it and rewind it and start like certain moments over again. Because there was a moment in this where they were acknowledging that the whole episode's over, and then all of a sudden, boom, Wanda's pregnant. Which that in of itself was Wanda's pregnant, which means we're very likely to see I can never remember like all their names. It was let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Wiccan.
I know Wiccan, and I can't remember. She's the mother of twins herself, even though Wanda herself was a twin. You had Speed. It was Wiccan and Speed, which makes sense because Wiccan has magic powers. Speed is a fast-moving person, which is very much like Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
That's very offensive. We don't call them fast-moving persons. We call them speedsters.
We're speedsters. So you had that, but then you heard this loud noise that interrupted everything. And that's where this episode kind of really took a hard shift, because it felt like everything after that was out of that sitcom norm and was back into like a regular type TV show that we're used to seeing, where these characters are investigating a noise, what's going on. And you saw what looked like a beekeeper coming out of the sewer, and it's kind of hard to see in this image, but the back of the beekeeper's outfit has the sword logo on there. So I'm not exactly sure what that has to do with bees, but the one thing I did want to also pinpoint, and by pinpointing it, Garth also sent in a Streamlabs, and he's also talking about it as well, is that bee outfit is very similar to the AIM from the comics, the outfit that the AIM people have. Theirs is more like chemical warfare, nuclear shielding type of an outfit. But a beekeeper's outfit's not too far in looks, at least, as to what an AIM might look like. So
almost like a hazmat suit kind of look.
Yeah, we're talking about all this, and that beekeeper could be a very subtle nod to AIM, as again we've already been introduced in Iron Man 3. It may be headed that direction as well.
Yeah, so we'll read Garth's stream up here. He said, "You said the magic words AIM and MODOK, so now I can say my theory. In the comics, AIM are the evil scientists who created MODOK. They wear yellow beekeeper outfits, and the beekeeper shown alludes to them being the ones experimenting on the dead Vision and Wanda. Fully possible. And so maybe through these experimentations, Wanda feels like she is in this world of her own design, but she is aware that, people are trying to pull her out. Maybe she's aware that Sword is trying to pull her out. And so when she's like looking at the Rayos going, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Or she sees the Sword person coming up from the sewer with the Sword logo on his back. She says no, and then immediately rewinds the whole thing. It's like she's aware, I'm trying to be pulled out of reality I don't want to be pulled out of. I want to stay here.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, everything turns to color. So the nice note about that is, again, going back to what Garth has said in the chat here, is that each one of these episodes is a new decade. So essentially, when you get into episode 3, that's in real life, that's when most of your sitcoms really did start broadcasting in color. So that makes sense that, say, our next episode is not only a shift in looks as far as like we're moving into a color type sitcom like from the 70s, but the entire tonal shift, and we're going to see how that might play. Hopefully getting more answers, because I feel like between these first 2 episodes, we've already been caught up on what exactly is going on here as far as we know. Now it's time to find out. Now it's time to get answers for why it's like that. And I think that's what we all really desperately want to know. We do know that eventually at some point this show will stop this like sitcom thing that they're doing with these episodes, and it will go back into seemingly the real world, as we do have more guests that we know are rooted in the real world, like Jimmy Woo, played by Randall Park from Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then we also got was it Darcy Lewis from the Thor movie. She's going to also have a part in here, and I believe she's assisting Jimmy Woo on an investigation, probably an investigation as to what happened to Wanda and Vision type of thing. So
something.
Not exactly sure what we're going to see as far as this show growing. We do also know that Evan Peters, who played Quicksilver in the X-Men universe over on Fox before Fox was sucked into the Disney properties, we know that he has a hand. He has something to do with this as well. Not sure if he's going to be playing Quicksilver or a completely different character, but it's going to be interesting to see how he gets engulfed in this world also.
Yeah, I think it would just be really, really weird if he's playing Quicksilver again. If he's playing essentially his Quicksilver from the Foxman franchises, and coming in here and doing that, as well as like an alternate reality Quicksilver. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't think it is probable. I think that there's more of a chance that Evan Peters is just casted as somebody else. But the thing about that is I don't think you cast Evan Peters without him playing someone of at least some kind of decent significance within the MCU going forward, or at least within just this show. So we'll have to see about that one. But as a whole, I'm just super hooked into the series already.
Because I want to know. I want the answer as to what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Like, jeez. 2 episodes in, and I'm still like, I said it on Twitter, like, I don't know anything more about this than I knew just watching the trailer.
Right. That's true.
Oh,
Boom.
that's a good one. I like that idea.
As a grown-up version of Speed, I love that. That is genius.
Yeah,
I think that might actually be correct. Because I mean, you know him as playing Quicksilver over there, and now he's coming in playing essentially Quicksilver's nephew. That could be fun. I touched on this in the first episode, though, from the first episode of how much fun Paul Bettany was having playing Vision. That goes doubly for this episode. The whole bit with him like taking the gum, chewing the gum, the whole like, I don't eat food. What? I mean, between meals, I eat food like crazy. I'm human. But him taking the gum and then like accidentally swallowing the gum, and it gets like caught in his gears and everything. They keep kind of playing back to that. And then like it just turns him into drunk Vision, slows down his motors. It gums up his motors, so to speak.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. I think that's just such a fantastic touch. It gets Paul Bettany doing some fun stuff with the character that we just haven't seen before. And it just feeds into what I was saying earlier, that he looks like he's having an absolute blast in this show already. And then just, Elizabeth Olsen getting to play off of him with the stuff that she's doing as Wanda also is just so much fun. I'm just having a ton of fun already with these first 2 episodes.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, that's our review of this. The episodes, while they're we still don't know what's going on. They really didn't answer anything. We're no further along than we were just watching the trailers to the show. At least we have some slight nods as to what's really behind this, and we are seemingly like entering the tunnel of this being fleshed out even more.
Yeah.
So we have an idea. We can now hopefully accurately speculate on the direction that this show's going and where it might end up at towards the end of this 9 episodes. So I like this so far. I'm very invested in this. Of course, it's nice to have content from the MCU after an entire year plus of no MCU content. So it's nice to see something happening. But I am still eager to see how is this officially going to connect to the next Doctor Strange movie, and what else could they introduce and possibly reveal that we don't know about yet. There's a whole lot of stuff there that I think is about to come to light, and it's going to be great to see. So
I think what's super interesting here is that from what it sounds like, we're only getting the 9 episodes of this season. It's a one and done season show. So we may not get a season 2. So whatever the storyline here is, it begins and it's going to wrap up within these 9 episodes. As far as we know, wrap up as far as the TV show goes. Like you said, it's going to move into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness too, connected to that. So maybe this storyline starts and finishes within that movie. So I don't know. Like I said before, I'm hooked. I'm into it. I am ready for the next episode. I think one of the great things you guys can watch us kind of break stuff down is now we have our theory out there in the open. Each episode that comes on after this, we can kind of run back to some of this stuff and go, okay, what were we right on? What were we wrong on? What was Garth right on? All that kind of stuff. And Garth being the honorary Cinefanatics member in the chat there, holding it down for us. So that's kind of the fun thing about doing this show and why I'm excited about this show that we're doing here moving forward, and then kind of being able to touch again on it in the various Marvel and Star Wars shows in the near future coming out. So a lot of fun stuff there.
Anyways, I think that's going to do it for this review. Make sure you join us as we continue to do these. This will be live every Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, same time that this started, hopefully a little closer than the 9 o'clock hitting it on the head. But this will be live every week as this show goes on. And then again, we'll be continuing to do these as other TV shows strike our fancy. So like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, the Aliens show that's on FX, as more of these. Yeah, as more of these movie-related TV shows come out, we'll probably be doing these kind of live interaction reviews. So, yeah, make sure to join us again next Friday right here as we continue to speculate and talk about where this series is going, especially when this ends up like Mandalorian, doing like something amazing that everyone is blowing up Twitter about. We're going to be talking about it right here as well. So,
the other thing is, if you guys are watching this on the replay, most of y'all might be watching this on the replay, definitely come back and hang out with us live, because we want to actually get more of that chat involvement. I mean, you saw us bring up Garth's theories here from the chat on screen. That's kind of the stuff that we want to do with all of you. So if you're watching this on the replay, come back and hang out with us live and share your thoughts, share your theories. When you watch the episode, let us know what you're thinking about as you've seen the episode, and we can highlight you on screen as well and kind of talk about what your thoughts are. You know, just I bring up Garth again. He brought up that Evan Peters might be playing a grown-up Speed. Didn't think about that. So come back, drop in the chat your thoughts, your theories, stuff that we might not have thought about, and let's kind of have this discussion together. Hope we can get some more of that cool kind of interaction happening in the future.
Yeah. So, again, that's going to do it for this episode. What did you think? Let us know in the comments down below. Do you have any other theories? If you weren't here for this live, let us know down in the comments. We'll probably bring them up in the next episode, as all of this is seemingly, again, going in one particular direction. As we wrap up, I will make sure, I will say, again, follow us on patreon.com/cinefanatics. We got some great stuff happening over there, one of which is tomorrow night at the $5 or higher tier. You could join us for a movie watch along. That's going to be National Treasure because, you know, it's topical right now. That will start tomorrow night at 9 Central Time. There seems to be a theme on when these shows on this channel starts. Don't know why. But yeah, 9 p.m. Central Time tomorrow night, we will be doing National Treasure. Come back, hang out, join the $5 tier at least, and you'll be able to see that as well, because it's going to be a lot of fun for that. Also, on the $25 tier or higher, next Wednesday, we will be doing the live like trivia hangout. If you got movie trivia questions, you got movie trivia knowledge, come hang out with us. Hop on that $25 tier and just come hang. We'll be sitting here talking about movie trivia, doing like quizzing each other, a lot of stuff like that. Because where'd it go?
If this bit takes too long, just move past it.
I know that. There it is. Because hashtag Draft Cinefanatics. That's why. So come hang out. Join the $25 tier. We'll all be quizzing each other on stuff. So yeah, come hang out for that. That's going to be next Wednesday, pending that the entire country doesn't go to heck in a handbasket that day, because apparently that day has some kind of significant importance in this country. So
I'm sure we'll be fine. Yeah, that Draft Cinefanatics, by the way, for those of you who don't know, it's related to the movie trivia schmodown. The other thing, hop on that Patreon, guys, because at least at the $1 tier, you get access to our Discord. Discord's where we're doing all kinds of stuff. That's another place that you can drop any theories, thoughts you have on these TV shows as we're going through them, and we can chat about it, hang out, and talk within there. A lot of cool stuff happening over at the Discord as we're trying to build the community up over there. So jump on that Patreon, at least at the $1 tier for that.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's it. So make sure you follow us on social media. We are at Cinefanatics MLP on Twitter, on Instagram, Robert Adams MLP, Chris Adams MLP on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you come follow me at Letterboxd. I'm trying to hit 2,000 movies this year. Follow me also, Robert Adams MLP. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe to this channel.
And you can follow me on Letterboxd. I'm trying to
eventually
fill out the movies. I'm trying to fill out the movies I'm doing on there at some point.
So you can follow him eventually on that. Anyways, anything else we need to plug real quick?
Tagline is on Tuesdays. That's our movie news show. It's our kind of our flagship show. So come hang out with us during that as well. Tuesday nights, about 9:30 Central Time. So we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff there, talking about movie news, whatever's happening, the latest in the movie news, and the latest in these kinds of shows too. So
yeah. And then Garth in the chat asking, "What time is the trivia hangout on Wednesday?" You want to take a big guess as to what time that's going to be at? Since I'm going to probably be working that day, it'll probably be at like 9 Central as well. So 10 Eastern. You're on letter circled. Nice. 10 Eastern. That'll be 7 Pacific. So,
all right.
Anyways, that's it for tonight. Thank y'all for watching. Thank you for being here. Again, like, comment, and subscribe. Help us get up to that 5,000 subscribers this year. Make sure you share these videos on social media. That's what's really going to help. And we will see y'all again tomorrow night. If you're a part of the Patreon, $5 and up, we'll see you tomorrow. Y'all all have a great evening and good night.
Have a magical night.
Bye.
See ya.